Let there be light, and there was light. Okay, so as usual, we are hanging on to the words of the said God, Mother Eve, in Genesis of chapter 1. Okay, or Mother Eve, as we know, but we are talking about the mother of all living, the mother of life, and so on. Okay, so welcome. I am Crimey Queen, and if you're joining us for the first time, this is the channel where we have fun with words and numbers, numerology to be precise. And this is where we are actualizing self-full love with the use of scriptural references, particularly from the King James Version of the Holy Bible. So yes, stick around and let's see how we can use those scriptures to better equip ourselves to becoming the people that, as Mother Eve would say, let us make man in our image after our likeness. So to find out what this after our likeness is about, basically it's who we are becoming. Of course, we are setting the mark, so to speak, for the man that is to be created. We are becoming the template. We are becoming the ingredients of that new man. So the new man is really where God said, we are talking about Mother Eve in the Bible, where Mother Eve said, let us make man in our image after our likeness. And that is the 8th entry of her words as the letter, as the teller. And we are talking in terms like it seemed like a business, but Mother Eve is ready to really it's more or less calling us to teach us, to instruct us of what is necessary to becoming that new man. Of course, from the template we have here, it gives us a depiction of what position we are meant to acquire to become that new man. Because here we have the like the revel. It's as if we need to revel into a state of being that is going to take us into a new 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 dimension. Of course, we can see there is an I on top of this N. Above this N is the letter I from the word sacrifice, but it's also the middle. It happens to be the middle letter of the word sacrifice. I think that is very symbolic. It's because I is 9, and it's like saying this is where we are going to birth something new, something there's a birthing or that is taking place in this state. Of course, we have 5 and 9. This would be 9, and as I say, where we have 5 and 9 together, we are talking about beginning and end, or end and beginning, whichever we want to look at it. But it actually is where at a point you can't necessarily or really separate the two. But that's why Mother Eve is trying to get us to understand what is required, so we can be able to make a distinction at least of where that beginning ends, where the end ends, and where the beginning begins. Okay, all right. So we are told from the Bible as well, when you are in Christ, you are a new creature. So we are talking about something we could equate to the Christ spirit. Now, all the videos that I have been doing, that Christ spirit, it has pointed us to seeing the Christ spirit is really activating the third eye. It's activating your kundalini. It's really, or your pineal gland, however you want to term it, but it's really getting to see from a different dimension, because we are moving into a new dimension. So that's what Mother Eve is really asking us to become aware of. It's about being conscious of where we are at and where we are heading. So as I say, we have been, well, I've said this in previous presentations, but if you are new to this channel, this is the sacrifice template. So this template is really about the sacrifice of, well, it was constructed or based on the sacrifice of Christ. But what we have come to understand that this is really a template that is in aid of teaching us of to becoming or how to become better versions and expressions of who we are by knowing that we have or discovered we have to let go of things that no longer serve us. And that would really seem like the sacrifice or where we could say this is the Jesus being crucified. And of course, when reason, we are rising up with the Christ Spirit. That's what it's about. Now, to show the correlations with the Christ and the pineal gland, we see all of those things in numerical values actually equals the same. So Christ equals 5, pineal gland equals 5. So pineal is 3 and gland is 2. So of course adding this together we see that's 5. Now of course the gland itself, which is 2, is really like saying that 2 is that harmonic force or forces coming together. So it's your the top and below and bottom, or the lower and the higher chakras really coming to having this harmonic I was going to say synchronicity, but they are syncing or synchronizing rather very harmonically. Well, it's the same thing. But it happens so much, so why not emphasize this? Okay, so I am speaking through experience of having this activation, of having my third eye activated, and have come to understand the transformation that comes about with such an activation. It really is a wonderful place to be. It is that place that I believe that Christ, in the teachings of Christ, have really structured in telling us or teaching us how to become Christ, meaning how to become, when we say, people say like Christ, but how to recognize Christ within us. When we recognize Christ within us, we also recognize Christ in external of us. So then we become to see, well, we come to see beauty in everything. It's easier to forgive people. In fact, as I say before, we forgive, do that forgiveness thing before embarking on such a journey. That is perhaps the number one thing that I would really stress that people address before activating the Kundalini. So I have done presentations on that before. Well, I'm trying to remember what it's called, but it's there is forgiveness is key for activating your Kundalini. So I think that's what it seemed to have just come out so naturally, so I'm believing that's what my video is called. Now basically I have been doing my past presentations, the most recent ones on the book of Job. So I have been touching on Job, but before I move on to Job, it's really our job, as in the book of Job, to find ourselves into this dimension with number 5. The 5 also has its mirror image, which is the mouth. The mouth equals 5. And of course, it's as if the mouth in itself, which has the tongue, and of course consists of words. Words, of course, are like waters, and that's what Mother Eve is, the waters. Waters also equals 23, which is 5. So we see from here, and that is the first real feminine word that we get from the scriptures as well. From Genesis of chapter 1 verse 2, we see the waters are being spoken of right there. So the 8 here is actually telling, it's a depiction of what we is required, that we eat of the fruit we eat of the fruit. A fruit is something that, of course, is it nourishes. It gives us a degree of nourishment, and of course that means it impacts on our whole life. So there we have with this 8 hair, which is, of course, it's like lying in on the tongue or in the mouth, and we see that it also, as I say, it's number 8. It equals 8, but it which equals eat as well. So there is some, we could see the occupation of the mouth, or the function of the mouth is around this eat or ate, which is what we do. But we speak of words as well, and when we speak of words as well, we see images come to mind. Now I say images in here because, of course, when we see images, it's a form of sight. So words are also of sight, and that in itself is telling us that here, when we do the numerical value for the word I, it equals 8. So the food we eat in here is really telling us that is to activate our sight. Thank you, Mother Eve, for this. It is activating our third eye. So this is an eye here. As I say, the word eye. Let's do this. So if we do the word eye, EYE, so this is 5, 7, 5, and we add these together. This would be 5 plus 5, 10 plus 7 is 17, 1, 7. So 1, 7 is really God right there, because when we do the numerical value for the word God, G-O-D, it equals 7, 6, 4, and adding these together, of course, is also 17. So this is where we are meeting with God. Now, so basically, Mother Eve is teaching us how to do this. And of course, we know that the functions of the body is as such that it nourishes our body. And of course, the brains are also very instrumental in what messages or what nutrients we have eaten. And so, of course, and it sends the nutritions or messages to the various parts of the body that that really needs it. And so, of course, we can see this is how we activate the third eye. That's Mother Eve showing us the way. Now, as I say, I wanted to speak on Job. I have been doing the presentation on Job. So Job, as in case you're new to this, the story of Job, so I'm just going to go over it very quickly. But Job, it said, was a righteous man. We are talking about a story in the Bible. He was righteous. He was perfect. So, of course, he also was a man of stature. It was said that in the scriptures, he was a great man, actually being great, or he was the greatest man. Now, he was the greatest man. He had 7 sons and 3 daughters. So we are talking about 10 children. Now, 10 here, of course, is the word perfect. That also coincides so perfect with the first words that Mother Eve spoke when she says let. So the word let in the 8 entries that Mother Eve, which is the serpent who was in the Garden of Eden, or we could say the serpent, the waters. So this is the word let, and with the let, which is where Mother Eve, as I say, is it's like she was the businesswoman letting the contracts to the other gods. So LET is actually 352. And when we add these together, this is 3 plus 5 is 8 plus 2 is 10. Okay, if you carry the pen that writes better. Let's So this is better. 352. Okay, so when we add this together, 7 plus 3 equals 10. So basically here we see that Mother Eve and Job's had 10 children. So we are seeing that, as I said, the Bible is a book of numerical construct, and every number or words of numbers that are spoken have some kind of significance. I don't believe that all the time that they really mean exactly like saying, oh, 7 sons or 3 daughters or whatever it is. 3, as in the word 3, might just mean 11, like when we do the numerical value for the word 3. Now, as I've said 3 as well, this is another thing that is very symbolic with what in the story of Job and this lettings of Mother Eve, because it is said that he had 300 camels, or 3,000. I think they were 1,000. Okay, 3,000 camels or oxen or something like that. But the word 3 is also coinciding very much with the word there, because it's really the same word. The THERE is actually THREE. So they have the same numerical value, which is 11. Okay, I have done this before, but I'm just going to do it here. So it's 5995 and 82. So it's 11. My pen is just okay, I think because this is a little damp. Oh, let's just it's meant to be for dry board. Okay, let's try this again. So, whether it was 3, but it's 28955, and adding this together, this is 10, this is 20, and 29. So 29 is 11. 2 plus 9 is 11. So we see that there is a correlation right there with the story of Job and Mother Eve in her entries. Now, Mother Eve did 8 entries, but it's the last entry that she wants us to be paying attention to, or to be preparing for. Now, another thing that is also very symbolic is that we are really on the end, at the end of the 7th entry, which is where Mother Eve says, let the earth bring forth fruits. No, this would be creatures, and all great creatures, or something to that effect, after their kind. And there were creatures that came after his kind and her kind, and so on. So it's basically, that was where the creation of the creatures, where Mother Eve says, let the earth bring forth creatures, or I'm believing it's creatures there at that stage, or whether it was fruits or grass or whatever it is. I don't have my Bible right here with me, but basically it's the end, where the point here is really on the 7. Now that 7 also coincides with Job having 7,000 sheep. So 7,000, we see the number 7 is here again. So there we are talking about 3,000 and 7,000. So we see that there is 10. So not only he had 10 children, he also had 10 showing up in the 7,000 sheep and 3,000 camels. And he also had 500 or 5,000 oxen, and there were 2 sets of 5s as well. So we are looking at 7 plus 3 plus 5 plus 5. Those were the numbers that were very symbolical in Job's wealth, we could say. So if we added these together, we would see that's 10, and 10 is 20. Now what I have come to observe is that 20 is really the bedrock, or it means it's, well, it's, as I say, it's the number of harmony, a relationship, partnership, marriage, and foundation. So of course, when we do the word foundation, FOUNDATION, this is 5692, 2 for the T. Okay, one. I would like to do it in case. So this is 569214536. And if we add these together, of course, let's do it like this. So this is 11, this is 20, this is 20, 30, 32, 35, 41, 47. 4 plus 7, adding this together is 11. So 1 plus 1 is 2. So that's what we are talking about, foundation. When we talk about 2, we are talking about foundation. So basically, foundation for agreement or whatever it is, as I say, that's where marriage formed. And on the sacrifice template, it is really the place of the incubator. It sets the pattern for whatever one or two are intending to create. So it's like a template, and it also coincides with 13 and the number 4. All right, so I was drawing on the parallels with Job. Now the story of Job, again, is that we say, as we were told, he was wealthy, and the story went on to say that, of course, his messenger, that's another thing we need to really look at, the word messenger, MESSENGER, which is 957551154. Now I always say that, and I don't resist saying that. Whenever I see at least 3 5s, I know Mother Eve is right there. So okay, let's add these numbers together. So this is 10, this is 20, and of course this would be 30, and this would be 30, 37, 42. So 42 equals 4 plus 2 is 6. And I just want to double check this. So this is 10, 10, 20, 21, 28, 29, 30. This would be 33. And so this would be 40 with 33. 33 plus 9 would be 42. So that's correct. So this is 6. So the messenger here is number 6, which is whole, which is the number of man. And so the messenger, according to Emmett Fox now, is more or less saying everything has to have a relationship for it to have that consciousness, or wherever, am I saying this correctly? The two things cannot marry unless they have a direct direct frequency, or they can connect. They have to connect on the same level, the same consciousness. So for instance, if you're connecting with me here, we are connecting on the same frequency. Okay, and it means that if you are understanding me, that we are really on the same. Okay, so basically, yes, so Job, speaking of Job now, so we have seen how the numbers are really reflecting in Job's story. So we want to bear in mind that the messenger is number 6. Now 6 as well is all, it also coincides with the word for the said God. So this is how we have identified Mother Eve as the said God, the spokesperson in the Bible, like I have her title right here. So when we see 1 and all these S's in the word messenger, this double S as well, I believe that Mother Eve is very present there. So here we have 9, 4. Adding this together gives us 15. So basically 15, 1 plus 5 is 6. And here, every time the messenger came to Job, in fact, to report to Job, which I haven't told you about what he was reporting, but I just want to point your attention to this column here, which is where 15 is, and EW, this is 5, that's the 5 column. So, of course, 3 5s are 15, so 1 plus 5 is 6. So, of course, the calamity was that Job had to endure was that the messengers on 4 occasions came to tell him that the catastrophic thing had happened, that first of all the Sabians had overpowered the sheep and the oxen were plowing, and the Sabians, and they slayed the servants. And of course only that servant or the messenger was the only one who came, who was saved to tell Job the story. It's like they always say, oh, there's always one left to tell the tale. So that's what it was with Job. And then there was another thing about his daughters and his sons, or his sons. They had they were feasting in the elders' son's house, and then there was a great wind and so on, and the house fell down. On all 4 corners of the house fell. So that's another thing that is very symbolic. The 4 corners. When we have the 4 corners, we are talking about a structure has fallen altogether. Now 4, I can't help but think that the 4 in this story, which is the 4 corners which is mentioned there, and we have 4 reports as well from the messengers, meaning 4 messengers came to tell Job about what had happened. So I can't help but think that 4 is really coinciding with the 4 with the 4th chakra, which is the heart. And so, of course, by the end of this 4th report from the messengers as well, Job was left with saying, well, God has given, God takes away, because he just went and he shaved his head. He shaved his head and said, well, you know, and it is said that he worshipped. Now he worshipped. There we said he said God has taken, and God has given and taken away, and he fell to the ground and he worshipped. It's not saying who he worshipped, how he worshipped, what he worshipped, but in any case, it is said that after all of whatever happened, he did not curse God. Okay, so it's it leaves us thinking that, of course, he was in a state of humility. Now, there was another situation. Of course, all this had happened between, which I hadn't told you, was about a bet between God and Satan. Now, it does not say between God and Satan. This is where I have had, I have been looking at and really weighing the scriptures here in that sense. It says the Lord, it uses the word Lord. Now, Lord is really coinciding very much here with the title of the said God. As I say, the said God, looking at the terms like a business, like where Mother Eve is the letter and the teller. like in this situation where she says, let there be light, and there was light, and let there be a firmament in the heavens, and let there be light above the heavens to give light upon the earth, and let the waters bring forth all kinds of creatures. This is where we see the result of all these lettings that we are talking about even today. We see that we speak about, well, when we say let there be light, it's like where we are using a different wording now to say, okay, let the electrician come in, or to that effect. Okay, that's scaling down quite a lot, but it's just to show you how this is still being used today. So basically, this is the Lord. So the Lord is the one who lets, is the letting, because we are talking about King James Version of the Bible, which was the Bible of construct, numerical construct. So the let as well is like giving a set of balance, because it equals 10. There's the masculine and there's the feminine. So these are two things that we need, like positive and negative, to make something happen. That tells us that from creation we had the seed of both good and evil, even in the word to say let, because there was already polarities coming right there. And that's what made it perfect in that sense. When we do the numerical value for the word perfect, it equals 10. So basically, we see that in the story of Job, that was, those elements were there too. So there's the Lord. So the Lord and God, although we really want to see that they're one and the same, but it's as if God didn't, Job did not know about Lord. He only knew about God in that sense. It's like, for instance, you may know me as Cry Me Queen, and somebody else does not really, they know me very well, but they don't know me as Cry Me Queen. They know me as Shakti. So that means, for instance, you may have met with this person or having a conversation with that person, and you are referring to me as Cry Me Queen, but they do not know me about being Cry Me Queen. They perhaps don't even know that I am on YouTube as Cry Me Queen. So that was the thing I felt was perhaps amiss with Job, not knowing all the characteristics or the way of God. So he was so righteous that he knew things one way, and it was only that way. And I believe that God wanted to reveal to him another side of, or at a deeper level, to have a sort of relationship with God. Because what happened when all these reports had come to him about the calamities that he endured, the words that came out of Job's mouth was saying, oh, the thing that I most feared has now come upon me. So basically, that is saying that although Job was righteous and he was good and he was perfect, but he was also very fearful of God. And of course, this was another thing that happened, that God had to take away the safety net from Job, so that meaning all the safety net was really his wealth in this sense, the things that he valued, the things that gave him this degree of prestige and acknowledgement as a man of stature in the community. So those things were the things that had protected him in a sense. He had it so bad that when his children went out to have fun and drink wine in their eldest brother's house, he would go and pray and offer sacrifices to God, because he feared that his children might have got drunk and cursed God. That was Job. So basically, there was not a relationship with God where he saw the other side of God as the loving God, or a God who probably even have a sense of humor as well, or a God he could really have a dialogue with. All he knew it would be about perhaps reading the Ten Commandments, whatever it was, and just going by those templates, and but not really um, actually knowing maybe what it is like to break one of those templates, and have that dialogue with God. Well, look, God, I was in a point of weakness here, and I do understand that, you require XYZ from me, but however, this is where I was at this stage, and, to forgive me or whatever it is, and to hear God's side and seeing God in another way. So, but he, as he said, that thing that he feared had now come upon him. So, meaning he feared for the loss of all those things he did. So now we see another thing that happened with him, and as we say, so before I do go on, it's basically, as I said, this was all to do with a bet between Satan and the Lord. Satan and the Lord. Now you can see in the story of Job that the dialogue that was going on with Satan and the Lord was very casual. It just seemed like they were kind of used to doing that. It's like someone going, it's like you being on the internet and just doing some kind of research and thinking, oh well, I wonder what's happening here in this town, or on this, well, just feeling, just doing something. So basically it was really that it said that the sons of God had showed up, for instance, and they had Satan came along with them, and God said, oh Satan, well, what are you doing? And he says, well, I'm going up and down, just to and fro in the earth. Now this was the thing, and God said, have you got your eyes on my servant Job? So basically, I don't know who was tempting who there now. So of course, Satan says, well, obviously, does Job fear you for nothing? Because you have built this thing, you have given him, you have put a hedge over him, you have protected him. Surely he would not fear you for nothing. Meaning that the fear Job had was that if those things were taken away from him. And this is where God was saying, well, I'm going to take those things away, or allow you to take those things away from him, or I'll take those things away from him and see if he's not going to still be faithful to me. So this was Job's time now to go at another level within himself, to know what it's like. And that's what it is for us, to know what it's like losing your job. And you may have lost your job and think you could not survive without this job, even if you weren't very happy in it. You could, or what it's like to have lost your family, or go for a divorce that you thought would never happen. You may have to make arrangements to see your children and be away from them, not see them every day as expected. These were things that Job would have had gone through, of course, with the report of the loss of his children. So all those things were reported as they had been lost, and he had lost those his children, for instance, and which is another funny part of this story, because towards the end it is still reported that he had 3 sons and 3 daughters and 7 sons. So basically I have been seeing these numbers here were really are numbers of the 7 chakras That's how I see it. Now, the three daughters, for instance, I am also saying, I may not have it right yet, but it could be that they are either the three chakras that are above the heart, or the three chakras that are below the heart. So I'm believing that the daughters, because also in the scriptures, the daughters, it is, there's a sort of ambiguity that the daughters were really dead. It is said that the men were dead, but not the daughters, even though that the house was still had still collapsed on them. Okay, so the daughters, I tend to see daughters as really markers. Now there were three. When I say markers, or they are markers as well, they parameters for this is how it's coming to me right now. So basically, I just want to highlight mainly the story of Job here, in the sense that the thing that we fear the most is what tends to God or situation or life tends to be to ignite, to help us to find our true sense of self through those things, through our fear. And that's why activating your chakras is really a wonderful way of eliminating fear. Opening your third eye is really one way of understanding that you are fearless, really. It's not to say that you will never experience any degree of fear at all, because fear has had a template or something, or memory. We have memory, but I really don't believe that one would experience fear as in everyday scenarios, or if you lost your job, or if you weren't well, or if you had to be doing something new, you would really be you would be living life in a new way, with some degree of boldness in the face of uncertainty, or the in the sense of acceptance. You would go through uncertainty of life in a more understanding way, or harmonious way, or receptive. You would be receptive to the unknowing. So basically, that's where the Lord wanted Job to come to this place. So I have explored the story a few times. There is so much more to it, but as I say, it's really Job having to face the loss of the lower chakras, because we see there was fire and there was wind. And so the wind, of course, that blew whatever it was, and we are seeing that it's representing a new lease of life, a new air, a new breath. And of course, to breathe also equals 5. So a new breath. And fire, of course, is that which it's like, well, it says you go through the fire 7 times, you are renewed. So basically, that's where I believe Job really needed to be. And of course, the name Job equals 9. So basically, Job had the job to really get out of the sack, because that's where he was at. And he had to go through the developmental stage here. And through the developmental stage, getting his orientation. And there's the crosshair. That would be where he probably had bowed down to the ground and worship, because he found himself here with his north, south, east, and west, really looking at himself. There is the stage of submission, we could say. Submission was happening right here. And as I say, we see the name of Eve here, Eve in Revelation. So whatever is happening is always being revealed to us. Once there is an event, it accompanies a revelation. So of course, Eve is always there in every event. We could say that. And EV, of course. So basically, from here, in the developmental stage, when we add these together, 1 to 4, that is also 10. So he would have been at a perfect state right there in that developmental stage of perfect submission to be, or to being in the new place, or being out of the sack. Once you're out of the sack, he was vulnerable right there. And of course, this is where the L, the revel, the L here is taking us into this new place. This is the new state, the free fives, which is 15, which is where the said God is. So the said God, this is where the said God was having all this dialogue. And of course, we see as the word messenger also equals 6 right there. So basically, the messengers are there at each stage with Job. And I'm believing, of course, Mother Eve, as we heard that the serpent was the wisest of all creatures. The serpent is the one who has let the contracts to the other gods. We need to remember that. So letting the contracts to the other gods, there would be one that would be serving as the messenger, or the other gods, or all these other letters or tellers that was taking place to really show, or really show Job that there is a relationship happening here, that God is more, God is in everything, and not just in that sacrificial burning of offering that he was doing for God. Basically